You know that feeling, right? When you bite into like a delicious burger or a perfect apple?
Yeah.
It's almost like we don't even think about it anymore.
Right.
But today, we're going to think about it. We're going to take a deep dive into the history of farming
Oh, yeah.
and how it shaped the world we live in.
It's really fascinating.
And we're going to be using Chapter 2, The History of Farming, as our guide today.
Our sourced material for this deep dive.
Yes, so no time machines.
Unfortunately not.
But we are going to travel back in time using the source material thousands of years.
That's right.
I'm already picturing pyramids
Yeah.
and like sweeping shots from those old documentaries.
Absolutely.
I have to ask though, were there like ancient Egyptian tractors?
Well, not quite tractors. They were very ingenious, though.
Okay.
But before we even get to the pyramids, we have to start at the very beginning.
You're talking about the hunter-gatherer days.
Exactly.
Our ancestors like roaming around looking for food.
Yeah, small groups living in tune with nature, just surviving on whatever they could hunt or gather.
Wow.
But then things began to change.
Yeah.
It was the agricultural revolution.
Okay, so instead of hunting mammoths, they started planting seeds.
Well, it was a gradual process,
Okay.
driven by lots of different things.
Like what?
Well, climate change, probably.
That makes sense.
And populations were
There'll have to be
increasing.
more mouths to feed.
Exactly.
Okay.
But the real game changer was domestication.
Oh.
Plants and animals. Humans started to notice which plants thrived in certain areas,
Uh-huh.
how to save seeds,
Oh, interesting.
and how to breed animals for certain traits.
So it wasn't like a light bulb moment.
It
It was
was-
more like trial and error over many years
Exactly, a series of observations and experiments,
until everything changed.
right? And we still feel the effects of that change today.
I guess when you don't have to keep moving around to find food, you can finally settle down.
Exactly, you can build homes,
Okay.
establish communities.
It's like the beginning of civilization, right?
It is. Think about ancient Mesopotamia, a so-called cradle of civilization.
Okay.
They were masters of irrigation.
Really?
They created these canal systems
Wow.
that brought water to their crops.
And they needed that because wasn't it kind of a desert?
It was an arid environment.
So even way back then, they knew how important water was.
Absolutely, it was key to successful farming.
It's incredible how those ancient innovations still apply to us today.
Definitely.
Like with climate change and everything.
It shows that the fundamental principles of agriculture haven't changed that much.
I see what you mean.
Like, look at ancient Egypt.
Okay.
Their whole civilization revolved around the Nile River,
Because of the water.
the floods every year.
Uh-huh.
They used those to irrigate their crops.
Smart.
They grew wheat, barley,
Wow.
flax, for linen and papyrus.
For writing.
Yeah.
So they weren't just growing food.
No, they were producing all kinds of goods
Wow.
and developing communication.
Amazing.
They worked with nature.
Not against it.
Exactly, and we still see that today.
You mean like with all this organic stuff?
Yes, permaculture and regenerative agriculture.
So cool. So those early farms, how did they change?
Well, innovation never stops, right?
I guess not.
New tools, crops, techniques.
Mhm.
But for a real turning point, we have to fast forward to the Industrial Revolution.
Now, this is when things get interesting, right?
It definitely shook things up.
I mean, the Industrial Revolution, it was like a technology boom.
It was a technological earthquake.
Wow. So what did that mean for farming?
Okay, imagine you're a farmer in the early 1800s.
Okay.
Your days are filled with back-breaking labor,
Oh, man.
plowing with oxen,
Yikes.
harvesting by hand.
Sounds rough.
It was slow, grueling work,
I bet.
and your entire harvest
Yeah.
could be wiped out by a late frost or a drought.
That's scary.
It was a precarious existence.
I'm starting to really appreciate grocery stores.
Yeah.
But, you know, that struggle probably pushed people to find better solutions.
They did, and the Industrial Revolution provided those solutions.
Steel plow, which
Oh.
could break through really tough soil.
Nice.
And the tractor,
No more oxen?
well, they were replaced with a different kind of horsepower.
So farming went from all that manual labor to being mechanized.
Exactly. And it led to incredible increases in efficiency and productivity, just like the internet.
Wow.
It connected farmers to a whole new level of efficiency.
It was a true turning point.
Absolutely. It had huge consequences, though.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Smaller farms,
Uh-huh.
they couldn't really keep up with the bigger ones.
It's like that with everything, right?
It is.
It's like local bookstores versus Amazon.
Exactly.
All those farm workers who lost their jobs.
It's something we still deal with today as technology changes things.
And it wasn't just machines.
Right.
The Industrial Revolution changed farming techniques, too.
It did.
What were some of the biggest changes?
Well, one was crop rotation.
Crop rotation.
Before that, farmers would plant the same crop in the same field year after year.
And that's bad. It depletes the soil of nutrients.
Makes sense.
But with crop rotation,
Yeah.
farmers started alternating different crops.
So the soil could recover.
Exactly. It helps maintain fertility.
So it's like they finally realized that the soil needs to be taken care of.
Yes. It's a more holistic approach.
We talked about GMOs earlier.
Right.
They seem to be pretty controversial.
Definitely.
Some people think they're the answer to feeding the world. Others are worried about the risks.
There are valid points on both sides.
Let's talk about those.
Yeah.
It says here that people who support GMOs say they can increase crop yields
Yes.
and reduce the need for pesticides.
And they could even make food more nutritious.
They see it as a way to fight hunger.
Exactly.
I mean, if we could create crops that can survive drought
Yes.
or that are packed with vitamins,
That would be amazing.
but what about the environment?
Well, that's one of the concerns.
Yeah, like what if GMOs lead to superweeds?
That are resistant to herbicides.
And what about the long-term effects on ecosystems?
It's something we have to study carefully.
And there's the whole issue of corporate control of our food.
That's right.
And what about GMOs and human health?
We're still learning about that?
It seems like there's no easy answer.
There isn't.
It's about weighing the benefits and the risks
That's it.
and being careful.
We need more research and open discussion.
And as consumers, we have to decide what kind of food system we want.
That's right.
Do we just want cheap food
Or do we care about sustainability?
and ethics
Exactly.
and our health and the health of the planet?
It's a big decision.
Speaking of technology shaping farming,
Yes.
what about precision agriculture?
It's like the next level of efficiency.
It's like the Industrial Revolution, but with lasers.
Not quite lasers, but you're on the right track.
Okay.
Think sensors, drones, GPS-guided tractors.
Well, so farmers can really fine-tune everything.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
about maximizing yields and minimizing waste.
And what about those vertical farms?
Oh, yes.
Growing food in skyscrapers.
It sounds crazy, but it's happened.
With cities getting bigger and bigger.
It's a potential solution.
We've talked about so many advancements,
We have.
from plows to vertical farms.
It's been quite a journey.
So where do we go from here?
That's the big question.
What's the future of farming?
Scientists, engineers, and farmers all over the world are working on that right now.
Really?
Think AI-powered systems, robotics,
Wow.
even personalized nutrition.
That's incredible.
It's exciting and maybe a little scary.
It makes you wonder what role humans will even play in the future.
Who'll be managing these high-tech systems?
Or will we still be out there in the fields getting our hands dirty?
I think finding that balance.
Between technology and tradition?
Exactly.
That's the key to a sustainable food system.
I agree.
So much to think about.
It really is.
The future of farming.
Full of challenges.
And opportunities.
We've come a long way.
From those first farmers.
Planting by
That
hand.
vertical farms.
Who knows what's next?
Like self-driving tractors.
Maybe.
Or AI that predicts crop yields.
It's possible.
But what about the human role in all of this?
That's a good question.
Will we just be managing these systems?
Or will we always need that connection to the land?
The hands-on knowledge.
I think finding that balance is important.
Between technology and tradition.
It's key to a sustainable food system.
So we've looked at the past.
And the present.
But what about the future?
We want to leave you with a challenge.
Okay.
What would your ideal farm of the future look like?
Wow.
What would it value?
High tech.
Or traditional?
Or a mix of both.
It's up to you.
It's something to think about.
Imagining that future farm.
Makes us think about the whole system.
You know, what kind of food system we want.
For ourselves and for future generations.
It's an amazing opportunity.
To think about a future where everyone has enough food.
Nutritious food.
Grown sustainably.
Where farmers are respected.
And technology helps us.
Not replace us.
So keep learning.
Keep exploring.
And keep talking about food and farming.
It's a story that affects us all.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, happy eating to